Hi guys, Chris here, back with another video. So today's video is a bit of a strange one. This is something that kind of occurred to me, or something that kind of came to my mind, and it's a bit of a strange question which you're probably not going to expect. Are books vegan? Now then, when we think about veganism, or is something vegan or not vegan, we tend to think of it usually in terms of what do we eat. So are we eating animals basically? So meat, fish, chicken, eggs, milk, and dairy. Are we eating animal products? Are we making food choices that result in the torturing, death, suffering of innocent, defenseless animals? Are our clothes choices negatively impacting animals, i.e. are the clothes we're wearing made out of wool or leather products or some other kind of animal products? And usually when we think of veganism, we kind of think of it in those terms, primarily what do we eat, and secondly what do we wear. And we never really, as vegans, tend to look outside of that. We tend to be quite blinkered. I know that myself, and sometimes we definitely need to look at the bigger picture, I think, because you're going to ask yourself, what is veganism all about? And veganism, to me personally, it's about the animals, not causing unnecessary suffering to animals, not killing them, not abusing them. It's about the people. It's about making sure people don't get heart disease or diabetes or cancer. It's about the environment. I don't want to see the rainforests cut down. I don't want to see different endangered species be killed because we destroy their habitats which they need to live in. I don't want to see droughts in California because the majority of the water in California is used by animals, and many other things. So for me personally, veganism has a spectrum of reasons to it, because veganism has multiple benefits essentially. Some people, if you could be one of these people, if you're watching, you might just be vegan for the animals, and that's 100% cool. I'm fine with that completely. The important thing is you are vegan as far as I'm concerned. I always say to people, though, think about your health and do try and think about the other reasons why veganism is good, because there's more than one reason or one way to turn someone vegan. But anyway, so we veganism has multiple reasons for doing it. It has multiple aspects and facets, and we need to look at the bigger picture, because what is it that we're trying to achieve? Now then, if we stop buying animal products, yes, that's really good, because that means that animals aren't dying because of our choices. But if we're buying books in large amounts, could that not too be unethical? Could that not be wrong? Could that not potentially be immoral in some respects? Now then, if you look at the the rainforests in the Amazon, they're getting cut down very, very rapidly. I think it's something like every minute about an acre or a football field of rainforest is cut down. Most of the time it's cut down for probably animal products, to grow grain or soy to give to cattle. But in addition to that, a lot of it is cut down for paper, or at least a lot of it is used for paper. So I was looking online, I looked around a bit, and it looks like at the moment about 15 billion trees are cut down every single year. And in addition to that, about roughly 5 billion trees are used in paper production every single year. Now then, some of these figures, they're a bit rough and ready, because sometimes it's hard to find what you want on the internet in terms of exact figures, precise, up-to-date figures, that is. But what I thought I'd do is let's go onto like one website and let's look at how much paper we get from a tree, and then let's try and associate that with what possible impact that we're having. So I'm on a website here called conservatory.org. I actually used this a while ago, now that memory comes to mind, in work. So in work a while ago, I actually submitted some suggestions to save paper. This is many years ago, before I became vegan, and I actually referenced this website, if I remember correctly, as a justification for my figures, and it's only just sort of come to my mind now. So if we come to the bottom here, guys, we can see it says some typical calculations, and as you can see, guys, 1 ton of uncoated virgin non-recycled printing and office paper uses 24 trees. 1 ton of 100% virgin non-recycled newsprint uses 12 trees, etc. And it's quite interesting. It allows you to sort of contextualize, the actual books that we have into actual trees that have been cut down to make them. Now then, the one that I want to look at is this one here. So this one here says 1 tree makes 16.67 reams of copy paper, or 8,333.3 sheets. So I thought I'd have a think about this. So for those of you who probably don't know, I am like a massive Star Wars fan. I'm a pretty big Star Wars geek, not gonna lie. I've probably got about 140 Star Wars books. I've probably got about 15 graphic novels, and I've got a number of other comics as well. I love Star Wars. I also have, if I'm just looking up my shelf, I have about 25 books on investing, because I'm quite into that. I haven't done any for about a year or so now, but I'm quite into reading about the stock market, learning how to analyse. I actually taught myself how to analyse financial reports and a number of other different things. But altogether, in my room, I probably have right now 200 books, which is quite a lot. Now then, a lot of these books, they are second hand. I didn't buy them brand new, but at the same time, a lot of them I did buy brand new. And it's kind of occurred to me, is it really vegan? Buying all these books, it does have an impact. Now then, you might say to yourself, you're just one person, what can you do? But that's the same argument that meat eaters use to stay eating meat. That's the same argument that people make when they don't want to go vegan. But the truth of the matter is, if every single one of us has that attitude, then we're not going to have an impact. But if we all start to change and all have an attitude that I'm going to do the best that I can, then that's when we tend to see change. So then let's do some calculations then, guys. So I'll just get my calculator up. So let's say if I have 200 books. Now then, these are on, let me see, like the same size as copy paper. So on the website here, when it means copy paper, it means, like A4 size paper, quite large. So these books, the books that I have, they're not A4, they're not the size of copy paper, they're about a bit smaller. They're probably about 70% the surface area of copy paper. But let's sort of do some calculations here. So let's say, guys, that I have 200 books. And let's say if each one is, let's say, 250 pages. Let's call it 250 pages. So that's 50,000 pieces of paper straight away. And let's call it, divide by 8,333. And then let's times it by about, let's say, 70%, because obviously the surface area is smaller. So that comes roughly, guys, to 4 trees. So roughly, guys, 4 trees have been cut down for my book collection, which is quite a lot when you think about it. Now then, like I said, these figures, they're going to be a bit rough and ready. They're not necessarily the best, but it gives you a rough idea of what impact I've had on the environment. Now then, imagine if every single person had that attitude that it doesn't matter, I could kind of have an impact, I'm going to keep on buying books. Imagine if millions of people have that attitude, that's I don't know, if 1 million people have that attitude, well, that's 4 million trees roughly, potentially, of trees that are going to be cut down. If those people are similar to me. Now then, a lot of people out there, they might not necessarily read books, but there are a lot of people out there who read books, whether it's Star Wars or Harry Potter or different literature. It could be educational works and stuff like that. And one thing that I've actually got, which a friend kindly gave me, is a Kindle. So I actually did get a Kindle years ago, and I kind of stopped using it eventually, but the battery died. And the reason why is because I preferred, the physical touch of a book. And I have to admit, I do prefer the physical touch of a book over something, metallic or technological. I definitely find it more, how can I put this, Like you get a greater connection to the material, I think. But that's just my personal preference. But what I've come to realise is that if we want to be responsible vegans, if we want to have the best impact that we can, we should always try and do the best that we can. So what I'm going to start doing, guys, basically is using my Kindle. So I haven't actually used it yet. I haven't bought any books yet. But from now on, what I'm going to do as a vegan going forwards is I'm going to make a genuine effort to basically stop buying paperback books or hardback books. I'm going to try and cut down on my paper and try and have a positive impact on the environment. So I will. Let's say if I see like some rare books on eBay. So I actually buy some books sometimes from the 1800s, which I find which I want to read for my own enjoyment on eBay, for example. The trees have already been cut down in that situation. I'm not continuing to support the supply and demand of trees being cut down. That's a bit different. But if, I don't know, let's say Dr. McDougall releases a new book soon, which he will do actually. He's releasing one in February next year, which I highly recommend you try and get. So for that one, I'm going to try and get it on a Kindle. I don't need physical paper. I don't need a physical book to be able to get the information. And here's the other thing. All of these books that I've got in my room, they take up a lot of room. You've got to be able to store them. You've got to put them on shelves. You then have to worry about, if you move somewhere, like if you get married and have to move out, you then have to take all the books with you. You've got to worry about, perhaps if you have damp in your home, etc. And I think the idea of having, electronic books or like on a Kindle or some kind of an e-reader, I think it just has so many benefits. I mean, you have less, clutter in your home. You have more space. You have less stuff. I'm all about minimalism now. I'm trying to become more minimalistic. To try and have more things that add value in my life, and less things in my life that don't add value. And I think, all round it'll have a number of benefits. And like I said, I mean, are books vegan? We need to perhaps, get outside this mindset that veganism is about, not eating animals and not, wearing animals. We have to think about all of our purchasing decisions, because all of our purchasing decisions have an impact somewhere along the way. If you take clothing, for example, we live in the age of fast fashion. Then I personally am not a prisoner to fast fashion. I have one or two pairs of trousers. I've got loads of Star Wars t-shirts which I've owned for years. I hardly ever buy new clothes ever. I might spend about no more than an hour shopping clothes a year. That's it. For example, one of my work shirts behind me actually has a hole where the elbow is. So rather than replace it, I just roll my sleeves up and just cover that hole that's in there, because I can't be bothered, trying to buy new t-shirts and stuff. But we always have to. So with this example, like fast fashion. So what I'm trying to say is, if you look at fast fashion, even if it's, let's say, cotton, is it vegan? Is it vegan? Does it, go along with the principles of veganism, which is about compassion, about not having a negative impact on others, about making conscious decisions, have others in mind as such when you make these decisions. So if you look like fast fashion, you have essentially what you, in some respects, slaves, in places like Bangladesh, these different countries where the workers are basically forced into these, jobs where they manufacture all of these clothes. All the clothes we wear are made by hand, usually in very poor conditions. The workers, they don't get paid well. In addition to that, there's a lot of waste in terms of making the clothes, and a lot of it just gets burnt or dumped. There's a lot of pollution from the different inks and dyes that are used in the clothes, which gets put into the water supply, and all around it can have a very negative impact. So in that situation where you're buying clothes made out of cotton, are you does an animal have to die for you to, for your food consumption? No. Are you killing an animal for you to, wear something? No. But ultimately, that decision, that purchasing decision, is having a negative impact on your fellow human beings in Bangladesh. It's having a negative impact on the environment in terms of all of these clothes that get made, and often they're not made to last. And what happens is you end up having to throw them out because they wear out quicker. There's all the pollution from the dyes all around. It's just not good. And what I'll do is, guys, I'm going to leave some images up on the screen. The recent Ritual podcast which he did with this individual who basically went around to Bangladesh and made a documentary and a number of other places all around the world, and he basically went into depths of fast fashion and really exposed it for what it is. And what I'd implore you to do is perhaps go listen to that. It's you'll get a really good insight into the whole fast fashion industry, and it will kind of just serve to try and illustrate what I'm trying to say to you. So that's basically it, guys. Are books vegan? Well, yes or no, it depends. I mean, there's a difference between someone who's buying brand new books all the time, and let's say someone who the majority of the time gets their books on a Kindle, but sometimes they might buy like, I don't know, a paperback book or a hardback book as a special thing. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to say, if you're buying books, you're bad. I'm not trying to say if you buy books that you're not vegan. That isn't what I'm trying to say. All I'm trying to say is, going forwards, perhaps, try and have a more conscious mindset when you come to make purchasing decisions, and ask yourself, what impact is this going to have? Is this going to have a negative impact on someone else? And what I'd also say to yourself, guys, is ask yourself, do I need this in a physical format, or can I easily get this in an electronic format? What benefit is it to me to have more stuff which will take up more space, and kind of look at it in that way. So I hope that was useful, guys. I just thought I'd share some thoughts with you. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm right, but I think it's something worth thinking about. Perhaps let me know your experiences down below. I'm looking forward to going forwards, to using my Kindle more, not buying books all the time. I am going to keep my Star Wars book collection. I love my Star Wars books. I've got 140 of them. I'm never going to get rid of them. I've already bought them now. I'm going to keep them. I'm not going to get rid of any of the books that I have. I'm always going to own them, unless I feel like they will add more value to someone else's life. For example, I've got some books which I'm going to give away to my local library for other people to use. But the books that add value to my life, I'm going to keep. But going forwards, I'll just be more conscious about my, my purchasing decisions. So if that was useful, guys. Sorry if it was a bit long. Sorry if it was a bit of a rant. I hope it was, of some interest to some of you anyway. Until next time, God bless as always. And as always, remember to go high carb, low fat, low protein, high fiber, whole food, plant-based, vegan, and consider getting a Kindle. Bye bye, guys. Torturing, death, suffering of innocent, defenseless animals, are our clothes choices negatively impacting animals, i.e. are the clothes we're wearing made out of wool or leather products or some other kind of animal products? And usually when we think of veganism, we kind of think of it in those terms, primarily what do we eat, and secondly, what do we wear? And we never really, as vegans, tend to look outside of that. We tend to be quite blinkered. I know that myself, and sometimes we definitely need to look at the bigger picture about your health, and do try and think about the other reasons why veganism is good, because there's more than one reason or one way to turn someone vegan. But anyway, so we veganism has multiple reasons for doing it. It has multiple aspects and facets, and we need to look at the bigger picture, because what is it that we're trying to achieve? Now then, if we stop buying animal products, yes, that's really good, because that means that animals aren't dying because of our choices. But if we're buying books in the picture, I think, because you're going to ask yourself, what is veganism all about? And veganism, to me personally, it's about the animals, not, causing, unnecessary suffering to animals, not killing them, not, abusing them. It's about the people. It's about making sure people don't get heart disease or diabetes or cancer. It's about the environment. I don't want to see the rainforests cut down. I don't want to see different endangered species be killed because we destroy their habitats which they need to live in. I don't want to see droughts in California because the majority of the water in California is used by animals, and many other things. So for me personally, veganism has a spectrum of reasons to it, because veganism has multiple benefits essentially. Some people, if you could be one of these people, if you're watching, you might just be vegan for the animals, and that's 100% cool. I'm fine with that completely. The important thing is you are vegan as far as I'm concerned. I always say to people, Hi guys, Chris here, back with another video. So today's video is a bit of a strange one. This is something that kind of occurred to me, or something that kind of came to my mind, and it's a bit of a strange question which you're probably not going to expect. Are books vegan? Now then, when we think about veganism, or is something vegan or not vegan, we tend to think of it usually in terms of what do we eat. So are we eating animals basically, so meat, fish, chicken, eggs, milk and dairy? Are we eating animal products? Are we making food choices that result in the